Morning, Dope. Morning, Zoe. Morning, Roach. Go ahead and get this party started here. So on the monthly, right, relatively no change. There's not much else to talk about. We always do want to look at it because we want to see the possibilities of maybe breaking a significant level on each time frame. And so that significant level really is pretty much like where we see the open and the close of these prior months, which is like what's the close here? 444. I don't know what's the open. I mean 448275, and then 4488. So 8788 or 82 to 88. A pretty significant level. So 82 to 88. So is that in the realm of possibilities today? Definitely, right? If we look at the daily, that would be about 40 points, right? We look at the daily ATR is 43.17. So is it in the possibility or the range of possibility today? Definitely. Okay. So now we go back to the monthly and we say, okay, well, this is definitely a level that could be pierced today and may cause more volume to come in the market as monthly levels get broken, right? There's just, certain things that happen when it comes to bigger money that it's going to trigger stops. It's going to trigger maybe people buying in on a breakout, right? It's going to trigger a bunch of traders to enter the market. That's really all we know. We don't know if they're going to be buyers, if they're going to be sellers, but we do know that they are there, right? And so it's a significant level. If we, let's say we're like, oh well, this thing's just it's not gonna break it. Well, sometimes that's who's waiting here, some sellers, and it breaks it, and it just shoots up, right? And it doesn't let anybody out. We've seen those days, especially recently, right? We've seen a ton of days where they just trend it up all day and they don't let sellers out. So that's, if you are going to look for a short above that level, right, in between that level and the high, right, because the high here is 98, and that open was actually 91. It's at 88, 98. So 98 is the high. So if you were to look for a short in there, you'd have to be careful trying to be shorting above that level, especially today. If it gets this continuation, that'd be a tough level to short against because you'd be playing against the monthly players there. So now let's switch to the weekly here and kind of do the same scenario. Morning, Tobias. Okay, so on a weekly basis, we kind of have a similar scenario, and we're actually a lot closer to a very key level, which is our previous week's low, than we are to that previous week's high, which happens to be at 4490-ish area, right? But we're a lot closer, right? When we say the range was 43 points, well, 40 points down would put us below all of this, right? And so when we're thinking about something like this, we want to make sure that we're understanding, okay, well, if we get a break of this low, it's going to trigger increased volume, right? So if we're inside the previous week's range, you can probably be risking less or risking more because the moves are not going to be as significant or as volatile. But if we start to break out below this level, that ATR is probably going to start kicking up. And so if you have higher risk on, which is like more leverage, more lots or something like that, it can start to go against you extremely fast. And so that's the time when you want to be kind of lowering your risk but widening your move, basically. So you kind of have that on the weekly level. So you have a possibility if we if we get a big run to the upside, the break of a weekly, daily, um, monthly level, and if we break to the downside, you have that possibility of breaking a weekly low and a daily balance low. We'll switch over to the daily here, and you can see we're in this 3-day balance. So if it were to break that low, which is here, that would put in weekly traders and daily traders, right? And it would also bring in momentum traders because it's going to take momentum to get down through there. And that's where a lot of traders look for, right? Breaks of daily highs and lows to go with, right? That's basically what the whole fucking turtle trader thing was designed behind. You know, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but not much. Um, it's just they held positions for ages sometimes. But anyways, um, so you're gonna get that increased volume, and so you've got to be a little bit more careful outside of those ranges. Now switching over to the profiles, we can really see this distribution. Remember, this is a 7-day distribution here on the right side. We can see our 3-day balance here. This big distribution kind of forming until that low, right? And then 51 seems to be the low volume node on the high end of that distribution before really in here it just gets kind of choppy, and then there's other distribution overhead from that holiday that we spent up there, right? And we got, what did we assume brought us up to this high, which is the reason there wasn't continuation the first time, short covering, right? Based off of the COT report. We assume that that was a short covering move. It was about, 100-point move. It was a little bit bigger than that, but it was a pretty decent move. Zoom back so you can see it. It was 43.70 to 44.90. A pretty decent sized move. And so today would be the day that we'd see if there was more short covering to take us back up here. But I mean, basically what we know is that we've ran out of buyers here, we've ran out of buyers here, and if the only thing that took us up here was short covering, which is old business, right? Not new buyers, but they're just buying their shorts back. Right? I know it's a tough concept to grasp sometimes. This idea of short covering and it's buying, but it's like shorts, and it's sometimes a kind of difficult task to wrap your brain around that. But if you really focus on that, and the profile really does a great job at explaining that because it shows where value is going, it can really kind of take your trading to the next level. And it's just a concept, really, um, kind of understand, like, not just what's happening right now, but what is the market trying to do, right? Questions that we ask ourselves every day. What is the market trying to do? And is it doing a good job of what it's trying to do, right? And so these are like key things that, you know, you should be asking yourself these every day. But if you can really start to kind of grasp the understanding of that, really help in your trading, not only day trading, but it can just help in trading in general. Um, and so basically, as we're kind of gathering that, right? So this is how we're gathering the ebb and flow. We're kind of seeing, we assume that, you know, we ran out of buying here, right? Ran out of buying. And what did big money do? Who creates excess, right? Ask yourself that. Who creates excess? Well, retail traders can't create excess, so it must have been larger money creating excess, right? Well, we knew that big money was short covering, they were buying, and I'll pull up the COT report so we can kind of time this out a little bit. Remember, it's as of last Tuesday. COT. So as of the 3rd. Well, this one's actually as of the 3rd. But so you can see large money, asset managed, institutional, short covering, right? And what does leverage funds do? They were buying, right? They did sell a couple, but not much. And big money didn't buy much at all, couple, right? Not even 1,000. So you had buying here, right? And this is, you know, this is buying as well. This is selling. So in reality, you had 50,000 versus 10,000 in the market last week. Um, does that make sense? Like between asset managers and leverage funds, right? That's not the only trades that happened, right? We'd have dealers and other reportables, but I'm talking about the big players. And so if you have 50,000 buying here versus 10,000 selling contracts, and then we go this level, we get this gap. Well, that's probably where they did it, right? Because the beginning of the week um, was the 26th, which is this day here below. So we get that big gap. And then what happens is you probably got a liquidation from asset managers and institutional money, or maybe we got some extreme selling, right? We won't know until that COT comes out, um, which it should be. I mean, depending upon where we're trading, it'll actually be pretty useful. It'd be nice to have it every day. God, so nice. Um, so we get a liquidation, and that's why I'm kind of, or another gap to the downside, which is kind of why I'm assuming that this might have been actual selling. Um, and then a move back lower kind of brings us back into the same spot where they, did that big short covering last time. So I have to wonder, are they selling this level, realize they can capture it, and then just buying it back here, taking this for like a small, a fairly large trade, right? You figure 1.3, then like 3 million volume there. There's a pretty decent amount of volume, trading it down, and now they're covering shorts again. But right, they were running out of demand before this. They ran out of demand at the top. They ran out of demand here. So if we get a failure, I think failure to break above this 76 here really kind of tells us that there's no demand, and so they should roll back over into this level, into this distribution, right? Maybe one, maybe 20, like really back into this level. And then really even a break of this high, but a failure to hold above this 80 in this upper distribution brings us back into this kind of low volume zone. You kind of have two-ish plays, or a couple of plays as far as today goes. We had to settle at 4444 times. You had to settle at 4444. But we're gonna have gap rules in play today. You don't have the rules easily accessible. Just they're in the Discord under the trade view. Okay, they're all on slides. I put them all on slides. Um, because we're opening up on a gap, right? Gap rules basically state that we want to go with any gap that doesn't fill early. This gap's not very large, right? We've got 46, about 10 point gap. Um, during a gap, a lot of times if you're a newer trader, this is a time maybe to sit out for a little bit, as people can get kind of chewed up during gap days. Um, I'm not super worried about it as far as it being one of those days that kind of chews a bunch of people up. We're really just kind of inside this balance here. Kind of looked below this value. You can see all these value areas pretty much line up. Kind of looked below the value and traded back up. So I'm kind of expecting continuation, even though we've got overnight inventory 100% net short. Maybe a little bit of a pullback here to this like 51.48 level. Um, Maybe even to close the gap down here to yesterday's settle. You could catch a bounce from there. It's still a little bit dangerous, I think, if it does start to roll over because it's kind of showing the failure to hold the gap. We also do have spike rules. Yesterday we kind of finished on a spike. Um, I guess we didn't really finish on a spike, huh? No, we didn't. That's just end period, I think. So not really spike rules. Oh, it already kind of pulled back to that spot, I see. Yeah, so what I'm looking for today really is I don't really want to see the market below this 50. Even I mean, not, not by much. That's right where that thin volume area is at. A ledge just beneath. So I expect to see some buyers here for us to try to hold that gap. I mean, maybe a close of the gap, but then a reclaim of the 50. Um, so that's going to be the first thing I'm going to be looking for today. If we get below that 50, I'm really looking for that settle to test, and I'm going to kind of watch it around the settle. If we fail the settle, then you know probably down to that like 36. I mean, there's a high volume node at 38, but I would assume that they want to test below just to make sure there's no selling down here. Um, I really don't want to see it below 30 at all on a deeper pullback. If it gets below 30, then you're definitely probably going down. Um, so that's kind of what I'm looking for is basically anywhere in here as a possible kind of buy zone. And then below 50, kind of have a fade zone down into this level. So these are kind of our levels here below us, 38. And then above us, really, like, it's tough to get short go breaking this high, right? For me, it's really tough for me to try to get short. I'm really just going to be looking to buy pullbacks unless we get accepted under 50. If we don't, I mean, there's definitely a possibility that we could trade this level just because it is a weak level, right? Or high, weak level. Um, I am kind of looking for it to fizzle out. Look at If I look at last week's levels, we had that 74.50 at a real big offer. Um, and 71. So 71 to 74 is kind of the area I'm looking for above us to kind of fail before it gets to the high. But then above that, we start to get back up to this. So that's really the plan today is just to kind of go with the market. Dad's at that Jim Dalton thing, so he'll let us know what he says when he comes back. So still about 9 minutes until it opens. Yeah, I think so. I think that's a move. Could be a nice slow day today too. We've got CPI tomorrow, I think it is. That's kind of what everyone's waiting for is really that CPI number. Cool. Jim Dalton said that if they are going to close the gap, he thinks they're going to do it first thing. That's from the Godfather himself. It blows my mind sometimes, like he's not Jim's not always right, right? Nobody is. But like he has so much experience and people still like want to challenge him all the time. Like anytime he says something, they're like, nah. And like a lot of the times he's not trying to put his bias on anybody. He's really just telling you like if sellers are strong, they should close the gap first thing. Boom. Open, shut the gap. And if they're not, then they're weak. That's what he's saying. Right? But everyone's like goes to him and they're like if you look at his chats or like if you ever take his courses and stuff, some of the people that sign up are like always trying to challenge him for some reason. It's like, dude, more liquor. see. Apple's opening up inside yesterday's range. Microsoft and Nvidia both open up inside yesterday's range. There we go. There's the open. A lot of back and forth here. Morning, Thomas. Morning. Nice. This is a nice trade right there. Let's see. Let's see if they can hold it above 55. I need to start. Well, I just fade it right back down there. They can't hold it above 55. It's going to be kind of weak. That's just where like the big trades are coming in, is that 55 area. You can see that's where all the volume's coming in. Having a long-term bias? What does he mean? Like, hmm. Hmm. So he needs to be patient, is basically what he's saying. Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's like marketing. He does them periodically, but most of the time it's to promote his offensives and stuff. No. Apple's coming down here though. Isaac's catching a bid. Nice. Weak high. Definitely don't want to see that thing hold. I want to see some continuation here. If you're in a long and we don't get continuation here, you want to bail. You don't want to just hope that it's going to come back. If it comes up to a weak reference, a lot of times it has good odds to test the next reference, and that's 54, 53, and you don't want to be sitting around for. The 50. Seller's getting stuck a little bit. Definitely giving it the old college try though, below. Sector boxes are green, but they're not real strong. Pretty outsized bar here. Just shut off all that selling in one big gulp right here. Want to see if See, this is I think a trap for sellers here. Like you see all these offers come in, and all these sellers are like, "Oh, look, they're absorbing. They got them," you know, and then they get short because it's off the Globex high, not really understanding that it's just a weak reference. And then like the difference between a weak reference and a gap, right? A gap is a sign of who creates gaps? Weak buyers or strong buyers, right? Strong buyers. And so strong buyers, right? And so weak buyers are trading off of what? Mechanical references, right? So if we stopped right at the Globex high, you get those mechanical traders trading, and I mean you see it coming down here, but you kind of assume that that level is not going to hold, that that was kind of a trap to run off some stops because you get all those people shorting. This thing just get buried. But do you see what I mean? Like even if we do trade back through the low, that high was unlikely to hold there. Well, yeah. So think about it, right? Let's think about if you're trying to get short, right? If you want to get short for a fair price, say you're here, but you want to pay up here, but there's no one really willing to sell up here, right? You know what I mean? There's no one really to trade up here because everyone's taking the trade from here, right? All the weak-handed traders are taking the trade from here. So they probably just buy it through this level, knowing that it's weak, right? They absorbed like I don't know, it was like 1,000 contracts before they did that stop run, and all those people that are selling right here are getting stopped out right here, and then that seller's using that liquidity to move the market lower there. Damn, massacre. I'm not really a huge fan of any longs if the market's not above 50, to be honest with you. Biden's next door to you today? Where's he at? Damn, look at all that volume coming in on that 47. Oh, he's in Lithuania? Oh. I saw something he's supposed to speak with Zelensky face to face. Is Zelensky in Lithuania as well? Yeah. Oh, okay. Look at that. So we see supply come in at an extreme, and then we get continuation. So that came in at 47. Most of that volume, or a lot of that volume. So that's going to be a key level that these sellers are going to hold it below. Yeah, right off of it. Yep. Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's where there was a big bid there yesterday. Yeah, moving it's a fucking ton of work, that's for sure. Yeah, especially when they're older, they tend to have more shit. Remember, remember when we moved Ruth? Like we moved her like 4 times. Yeah. Oh my. Yeah. It was a lot. It was so fucking annoying. Hmm. Well, after a couple of times when we would move her, I would be looking at boxes and they would just be the same shit that was in there the last time we moved, untouched. I was like, oh, fuck. Yeah, like this is trash for sure. You haven't even looked at it. People in that neighborhood probably thought that I worked for a moving company because I moved Ruth, Laura, and my mom all in that same street. Remember? Yeah. Morning, Tommy. Good. How about you? Yeah, you and my uncle both had COVID. So going around. Just my uncle. Yeah. Inside yesterday's range. Yeah. And it's been like a super key level too. Like if we look at the daily, it's 4444 was yesterday's close, and it was also the stay that we moved. That's where the market opened at. So it's definitely a level, and then so far today's low. So that's 3 touches there. And really, like as far as I'm concerned, like any downside really is buyable unless we break this 20 level. Even like I mean, I'd like to wait until a little bit lower, or like here from the 50. If we keep seeing these sellers get stuck here, I'm gonna try to take this thing back up of the open. 54 is the first, would be like the first look, but I mean, there's possible pullback buys like all in this zone because it's a balanced level. So anywhere basically underneath of the value is kind of buyable. But of course, like, well, it's like, oh yeah, yeah, like distribute, yeah, balance high and a balance low, yeah, yeah. The only thing is you probably don't want to be getting long here. This is going to bring out daily stops. This is going to bring out the weekly stops and these stops here. So extra volume probably brings us down here. But other than that, above this 24, I'd like to see it stay above the 30 to be honest. But above that, you just keep going. And if it keeps staying above this 50, like you're seeing all these sellers coming around this 50, not really going down now, staying above that. And especially we know there was some big sellers here on the 47. Now we're above them. Could just get that short covering back above the open here. We did have tech take a pretty deep dive. Um, it's still not looking great, so yeah, it's kind of tough to get long unless we hold above the 50. I would have to see like Nasdaq kind of firm up. The Dow looks really strong though. Dow's actually on a gap and still on a gap, whereas the Nasdaq's at yesterday's point of control. Kind of see the difference here. Like you would have the Dow up here. Actually, is the Dow? The Dow's basically right here. It's at its Globex high. ES here, and then the Nasdaq's like down here. Exactly. We keep trading back to balance. Tomorrow's CPI. No, definitely not. We're in, yeah, like a 14 and a half point. What'd you say, Tommy? Yeah, there's still a couple liquidation spots, like 56. There was liquidations, 55, and then 51 half. So if they can't get it back above that, it's kind of tough to be a believer. But it just keeps seems like shorts keep getting stuck. So I feel like that's going to be like more target areas than anything to see if there's going to be reoffers there. There's no reoffer at 51 half. We'll probably trade to 55 half, 650 area. Um, I haven't done like much tracking of that, to be honest. Like I don't really keep track of the days like that. That's probably a good idea though. You're right. Yeah, I think so. That's kind of what I expect actually. That's why I think there might be opportunity if we open up either down here or up here. There's really kind of like opportunity there to trade against those levels overnight. Might be an overnight trade night. The phones are getting scrambled. Yeah, but we nailed it yesterday. Um, like absolutely got short, took it down, got long, took it back up, fucking, and then we got off. It was easy. It was like just an easy trade day. Yeah, it just like like sometimes those days like just give the signals out. They're just like yeah, go ahead. That's it. Yeah, yeah, that's where that liquidation spot's at. We keep seeing a reoffer below it. I find it like pretty hard pressed if they don't hit 5150. Yeah, 50. What's that tune? Up goes the weasel. Yeah. Well, there's a difference between like trading with the group and then like just like every time someone says anything, you have to shit on them. There's a difference between that. And so, yeah. I use some other stuff to keep me chill. Nope. The mint, actually. Yeah. But they keep you super chill. Yeah, eat them all day. They're like Tic Tac. Yeah, I think you're right, Tommy. Like when you get angry and you start trading, you'll go through like that emotional roller coaster, like that trading cycle, basically. You get all angry, then you get like in denial, then you get hopeful, then you get desperate, then you hit that fucking capitulation, and then it's just like a vicious circle that if you can ever really kind of get control of, you're just gonna keep being stuck in that Ferris wheel of doom. Yeah. Imagine Roach when Roach has a bad day and he fucking goes out to like a job site after laying concrete. Fucking. Yeah, you wake up angry. Yeah, exactly. Oh, fucking jerk off. Come here. You know, that wasn't very far from here. Pittston. Which is like not far at all. I mean, if you go to the Vegas like Mafia Museum, Scranton's right on there. Boom. Name everything. Roach was a mixed breed. They never would have let him be in the real Mafia. It would have been like he would have been like the concierge in The Godfather. He was German or something or Irish. I think he was German, right? Never be a made man, yeah. Yeah, but like, that's so funny. Like you think about like racism, right? That's why it's such a crazy concept. Like people that are racist just kind of blow my mind. Um, like you think about that concept, like you could be in the mob, right, and just like a fucking bad motherfucker. You could never get made because you weren't a full blood Italian. You know, like, if that's not racist, I don't know what is. I do. Snape is kind of my favorite character in Harry Potter. Or Sicilian. Yeah. Hmm. That's what my buddy was. He was Sicilian. Sicilians are most of the time like more olive skin. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, my buddy's mom. Well, my buddy Joe, he's Sicilian, and like he's 100% Sicilian, and so is his mom. And her and all of her sisters have like that olive skin, like they're tan, like dark. That's what everyone pictures all Italians like. But most Italians are like pasty white fucking Catholics. Yeah, especially around here. Well, my wife did that at 23andMe, and she was 98% Irish. Yeah, I mean, I did mine, and mine was like all over the place. Imagine that, Tommy. You get that done, you find out that you've been Irish this whole time. That's what's that's what's so funny to me is like in America, like your family could have been here for ages, right? Like hundreds of years, like maybe 400 years, like maybe the whole time. And yet everyone's like, well, like it's like they're ashamed to be American. You know what I mean? Like, well, I'm actually Irish. Like, actually, unless your fucking grandfather came on here, fucking, and that's pretty much as far back as really it matters, then you're American. Because like even if you found out you were Irish, you wouldn't start calling yourself Irish, right? Yeah, but you consider yourself English. Yeah, see, but like in America, we don't do that. It's like, no, not American. I'm Irish or fucking Spanish or whatever. Well, no, we're only everyone's proud to be American when they're like talking about people with other countries. But when it comes to like Americans versus Americans, they're always like trying to break apart. And you're like, what's your fucking deal, the ground here? The break of that low, more volume comes in. It's only like 20% odds, I think. Um, Only 20% of the time, or maybe it's 10% of the time that we take the Globex high and the Globex low. I don't know if that's on an inside day. I think it's probably a little bit different when it comes to gap rules, just because typically that brings more volume into the market. Whereas, like, if we had a Globex range that was, let's say, like inside, say it was like this, and then we like broke the low but didn't break this low, and then traded back up and broke the high. Um, but you're not getting like a ton of volume from there like you would on the break of the previous day's high and the Globex high. It kind of brings out more volume into the market. So I would say the odds are probably higher on a day like today to break the Globex high and the Globex low. Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah, yeah, I think so too. Then bounce. The big level down there before was like 36. 36. Yeah, that there was a big bid that came on 36. And the previous day had a big offer 35. So that's probably going to be a pretty key area for sure. That 38 to 35 area, we'll call it. Yeah. I think if we break below 30, then we probably go to 20, 19. Yeah. Yeah, and the low. What was that POC from lower? 19. Oh, okay. And I think it is it's the T3 low now. Or no, T2 low? Oh no, T3 low is like 20. Yeah, so like there's a lot of volume down here. That's why like below 30 starts to get like starts to get risky because if we break that 20, we really could start to fucking sink. Like weekly balance low, daily balance low, previous point of control, daily stops, distribution low. Like I mean, there's so many references down there. Almost makes me think it would be an area to buy. Kind of. See if these sellers are going to try to break this here. Yeah. And a big bid came in right above him. You got a big seller and